Hi everyone, it's the Assyrian Priestess with you. I hope this finds you well. I wanted to create a short clip about what we do on Patreon and what the cult of Ishtar is all about. So for those who would like to know, the Assyrian Priestess Project has a Patreon space where you can join as a member for $3 a month, or you can download audio lectures as one-off from the Priestess shop. Now, what do we actually do there? There are different tiers, and I'm going to explain some to you. The cult of Ishtar is really about learning about the goddess Ishtar as she's understood primarily by one source, and that is the descent of Ishtar to the underworld. I know the myth is increasing in popularity. A lot of women doing deep feminine studies are in love with that story, and I'm sure other genders as well. So let me know if you're familiar with that story and if it's meaningful to you. So the first thing we do is we study the myth itself from the primary texts, now obviously translated into English, but I will give you all of the academic references that you need. And there's also like copies of the actual full myth in English that you can download as a member. We also go through the characters of the myth, which I call Meet the Cast. So it's almost like a play or a story. And there's different characters that Ishtar meets in that story that help us kind of unravel what Assyrian cosmologies and mythologies were all about. We also look at associations and interpretations. So I will offer you like a modern interpretation of that for you to make your own decisions. Obviously, I will also quote different researchers and academics and scholars and try to make it accessible, really, of how they've read it and understood it and what it means for us today, if anything. Because I think the biggest question I get is, why should I even study Ishtar? Like, what does it have to do with today? And I think one of the reasons is it has everything to do with today, because the myth itself has been interpreted to represent the cycles of nature and the cycles of life and death. And I'm talking about the literal cycles of life and death, the ones that we go through in our life. And so that's the fourth thing I offer, if you're willing. It's voluntary, of course, is an actual practice guide. So there's this really interesting group of people in the world. And what we do is we bring mythology to life. So it's not just an interesting story and then you put it back on the shelf, although you can if that's what you're interested in doing. But for those who want to go one step further, I bring the myth to life for you. And I offer you a series of journal reflections and practice guides where you can actually physically embody the story and understand yourself as a living embodiment of the goddess or the deep feminine nature. Now, what happens? The first question is, okay, what if I'm a guy? I don't want to do deep feminine work. Half of Patreon is guys. And so there's a lot of work around the divine masculine, and I might do a separate video on what I mean by feminine and masculine, because there's a whole entire spectrum of how we understand those archetypal patterns that actually exist in all of us, and where they exist in the collective as well. So I hope this wasn't too rambly or academic. I really try and make this work accessible, and that was one of my biggest motivations in the work that I do, is creating a body of work that speaks to like everyday people in a modern way, because a lot of the sort of books on the goddess are quite scholarly in nature and might only be interesting to people at university or who want to read at that level. Which are not a lot of us don't want to do. Like even I don't relax to reading scholarly material usually. So So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions, and until we meet again, bye for now.